Hey everyone, welcome to the Mind Shift Health and Wealth podcast. Today, I'm going to talk to a young entrepreneur, not only a young entrepreneur, but YouTube also influencer and coach, and a lot of different things in assisted living space. But I'll let Serge first of all introduce himself to you guys, and I'll share whatever social media information I have, so you can check out his YouTube and other social media for his not how he's building his business. So Serge, kind of people who haven't seen you before, give a little bit of an intro from where you were to where you are now. So
Of course. Thank you for that introduction. And yes, my name is Serg Lupescu. That is, you can just find me on YouTube under Serg Lupescu. And I started my entrepreneur journey in 2018 after I graduated nursing school and came out here to Phoenix, Arizona and started my first five-bed facility in assisted living because of my nursing degree. And so sold that very first facility in 2022. And I had started my syndication firm with my now partner in 2021. So the year right before I sold my first facility. And we now currently have 15 facilities and about 20 million assets under management.
mm.
And I think it comes out to about just under 250 beds in total. So since 2021 till now, that's what we've been doing. And we've been focusing a lot on kind of pivoting our strategy now and targeting more of the mid-sized facilities in states like Texas, Florida, and I'm based out of here in Arizona. And so that is currently where I'm at now. My YouTube channel, I'm still growing that and still putting videos out on YouTube. And so that's just been a pretty fun journey as well. And that is where I'm at the moment. So
Awesome, Sergio. So we talked before, so I kind of want to get back into your background. First is two different things. One is your childhood. What were your influencers and what kind of propelled you into thinking about business? And then we'll get into the second part where you started as nurse, but then kind of quickly pivoted. I mean, because everybody can see you're a pretty young guy who kind of already built the $20 million essentially assets under management business. So that's a pretty quick rise. So kind of go into your childhood. What were your influences and what kind of like got you to shift to always thinking about entrepreneur?
I think one thing that comes to mind when I think of my childhood was when I was in eighth grade. Was what at the time they would call like tech class, and it was when a class where you would just create things, build things. It was kind of a cool like class that you would take. And I remember my teacher in that class had asked the whole class, I think it was at the beginning of the school year, what do you guys all want to be when you grow up? And for some reason, and I don't even know where, but and how I even knew what a CEO was, but I just put down CEO, and I think it just sounded really cool. And I think that's kind of where it really started for me consciously. Again, I'm in eighth grade. I have no idea what a CEO really does. All I really knew was that it was had to refer to business, and they managed a bunch of people. That's kind of like the gist of what I probably knew. And that's where it really started. And then I went through a period when I was younger where I was diagnosed with cancer. And so at 12 years old, and I did treatment until I was about 16. And so for 4 years, I did treatment. And that really taught me really quickly in life that life is pretty precious and it's pretty short. And so for me, I was always kind of told you can't do things because of the fact that you were diagnosed with cancer and you couldn't be involved in sports. And, they took more of they allowed things to be easier for me, for obvious reasons, but it always made me feel a little like I was being underestimated and didn't always feel fit in, right? So I always wanted to be like, I want to be normal. I want to be just like any other kid. So in my mind, I wanted to prove them wrong and that this cancer thing, it wasn't going to hold me back from just being like any other kid. And so that taught me resilience, and that taught me to to continue to push myself as well, and regardless of your situation or your circumstances. And so for my childhood, that helped really kind of probably form that mindset of stay true to yourself. You know, you can truly achieve whatever you set your mind to, and don't let other people's opinions or other people's perspective on your life hold you back. And that's really probably what shifted my mindset more than anything and shaped it to help me in business and later on in life and to where I'm at now.
Awesome. That's a compelling story. If I might, dig into it a little bit more, I know you said that compelled you to not let anybody stop you, but there any inspirational figure or something you saw, read during that time that kind of shifted that mind that way, or was that like inherently something you got in?
I wouldn't say there was like necessarily a big influence as far as somebody in my life that I thought, man, I want to be like them. Like that is who I want to grow up to be like. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up very, very like I would say lower to middle class. My dad was a truck driver for a majority of my life growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just his own driver, was self-employed, did
Mm-hmm.
that. And that wasn't to me success because he wasn't as home as frequent as
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have liked,
Mm-hmm.
or most parents, or I'm a parent now, so
Right.
I don't know if that was a good balance
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. What that did teach me though was hard work. My dad was a very hard worker, and I always saw that
Mm-hmm.
growing up. So that probably helped a lot subconsciously,
Mm-hmm.
to know like anything you want in life, you got to work for,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to for it. So, but I would say ultimately, I think it just was a combination of things
Mm-hmm.
that really helped shift my mindset. I wouldn't say it was like one or a set of people. I think through each season of life, people
Mm-hmm.
get introduced in your life that help push you to that next level, right? And I think a lot of people get kind of stuck in certain seasons of their lives with certain people that they feel like they can't get away from, or they feel content or complacent around and feel comfortable with. So I think for me, it was just every season of life, I kept being surrounded by individuals that at that time served where I was trying to get to.
Awesome. Well, let's fast forward then. You got into nursing for a reason. So kind of share that. And then once you got into nursing, what kind of shifted you, propelled you into this business of assisted living? And the success you're having, obviously, it was a pretty rapid success, right? Most people take years to build what you build. So kind of, I guess, briefly, or however much you can share, share that journey, like what shifted from there to success you're having.
I think for me, a lot of it had to do with logical reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Nursing was a logical path that made sense at that time. I graduated high school at 17,
Mm-hmm.
and my sister was a respiratory therapist. I saw her life and I looked at her life and I thought, I should probably just see what her thoughts would be,
Mm-hmm.
and if she could go back, what would she do differently?
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to her and she said if I could go back and do things differently, I probably would have went and gotten my nursing degree and then pursued becoming a certified registered nurse anesthetist, so CRNA.
Mm-hmm.
That's what she would have done differently. And
Mm-hmm.
so I'm thinking, why would you have done that differently? And I asked her that, and she said because it was just more upward trajectory. Her becoming a respiratory therapist kind of limited her options. Whereas if you became a nurse, you could go become a physician's assistant, you become a nurse practitioner. There's
Mm-hmm.
multiple avenues that you could have pursued, right? And it gave you options.
Mm-hmm.
And that just logically made sense to me, right? And at the time, entrepreneurship was not on top of my mind. That wasn't anything I was looking to potentially do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I chose nursing. And I went and she just kind of told me, hey, go do these things, right? Go become a CNA first. It's a
Mm-hmm.
summer class. I had to be 18 to go do that. So I
Mm-hmm.
went and did that following summer. I started my very first real W-2 job at a nursing facility.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I mean, that's where I started. And then I worked there for about a month, and everyone there kept telling me, this is not where you belong. Like you're too young to be working here, essentially. And that wasn't my goal to be there for too long. It was just it's where I did my training during my CNA like classes, and they
Mm-hmm.
just kind of hired me after I finished.
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to my sister again. I said, hey, can you put in a good word or see if there's any openings at the hospital? And
Mm-hmm.
she would work in ICUs. So she's like, yeah, let me inquire. And if there is, I will let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so she got back with me. And at the time, there was an opening for night shift on weekends for a CNA
Mm-hmm.
in the neuro trauma ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went in for the interview, got the job at 18 in the ICU, in the neurotrauma ICU.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how I started that journey. And during that process, I obviously at this point was around a lot of nurses, a lot of CRNAs, a lot of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
And I was, fixated on getting my nursing degree,
Mm-hmm.
staying in ICU, getting my experience, applying for CRNA school, and then eventually that was the trajectory I was on.
Mm-hmm.
So I applied for nursing school, got
Mm-hmm.
into nursing school, and then right before my last semester of nursing school or finishing nursing school,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I was at a point where I had talked to plenty of nurses, not interviewed, but just from working with them and being with all these different people, I really came to the conclusion again, I'm a very logical just type of person. I just ask very logical questions and I'm very observant.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just talk with a lot of these different veteran nurses that I worked with and, CRNAs that I got to talk with and stuff. And there was a common theme with each one of them, and that was that they've hit their ceiling in regards to their career.
Mm-hmm.
They were all at a point where they felt like there wasn't anything else they knew or could do because their whole career was nursing, was CRNA. They didn't have any other skills outside of that to make them more money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, at that point, kind of foresaw my future in them and was like, this is what my life would be or will be
Mm-hmm.
in 30 to 40 years.
Uh-huh.
And that didn't
Sit well.
it didn't excite me. It wasn't like something, it was very safe. It was very like guaranteed. That's what's going to happen.
Uh-huh.
And that didn't excite me enough to be like, I'm gonna commit all this time to school,
Uh-huh.
acquire all these student loans. And so I eventually came to the conclusion of like, okay, well, now I have this nursing degree. I'm either going to take a bet on myself and go start this business potentially of assisted living, or I take the safe bet and go to school further and become a CRNA,
Mm-hmm.
potentially make six figures a year and just play it safe.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are today. I obviously made the decision to take the bet on myself. So that's the gist of how things came to be and where I'm at now.
Awesome. There's multiple questions I have, but I'll probably just spit it down to two. One is, how do you think your curiosity, it seems like you have that curious mind, and those questions you asked came, is the reason where you are right now because of asking those questions and getting those information and then making a decision. That's one. The second part is, gave you the, I don't know, the chutzpah to say like, hey, I go for the business. Was the factor, was your illness or cancer at your childhood, thinking that you don't have enough time to do things, was one of the factors in going for things you want to go do, maybe years later, do it now so that you're not wasting time. So I guess a two-part question.
So the first part is what kind of sparked my curiosity,
Yeah, but
or
no, is the curiosity you keep asking. So it seems like you're a curious person asking those questions. You think that was the critical thing in your whole essentially business or whatever you did in your life, that's where it really helped you to be where you are. That's, part one. So I'll ask the part two, once you finish, I guess.
To answer that first question, yes, I think being open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and not just being so fixated
Mm-hmm.
on one or what is it that you truly want out of life? And I think it takes time, it takes a little bit of deep thinking to do that and to
Mm-hmm.
really I think there's a lot of people who kind of get trained to just do the minutia, to do the repetitive things
Mm-hmm.
day in out, day in and day out. And there is a place for that. And I think that helps build a lot of good consistency
Mm-hmm.
in your life. But I think too many people get so like narrow-minded of what the possibilities are out
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
And for sure, that definitely helped a lot. And again, I was just more curious for myself, and I was okay
Mm-hmm.
looking kind of like odd to probably most people. Like, why is this 19, 20-year-old asking me these types of questions about my life and all these and I was genuinely curious about people's lives
Mm-hmm.
because I really wanted to know
Mm-hmm.
how they felt about their life and
Mm-hmm.
where they and keep in mind I'm working 12-hour shifts. It's it's a night shift, like
Right.
there's a dead time there. Like people have nothing better to do except sit around and talk, right?
Right.
So just to pass time.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that definitely helped a lot, being
Mm-hmm.
curious, being willing to be open-minded
Mm-hmm.
and not being so fixated on only one strategy or one goal. Keep in mind, my strategy and goal was to become a CRNA.
Mm-hmm.
And to answer your second question,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge man of faith. God
Mm-hmm.
has always been the center of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I am a proclaimed Christian. I have no shame in that. I grew up in a very conservative family, and I learned a lot of great things because of that, and it's helped really shape my mind. And with that being said, the courage that I get is from God and from my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I do is not because of I'm smarter or special than anybody else. It all just strictly comes from knowing that I have a purpose here,
Mm-hmm.
and God has allowed me to become a steward of a lot of opportunities, and that's really what it is. When I made the decision to come out here to Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
it was because God really put on my heart to come here
Mm-hmm.
and spoke it into my life, and that was what gave me the confidence, the peace, and the willingness to come out here.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been proven time and time again for me, and that's what I stand by because I am human. We all are, and we're all weak in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times where it does get hard mentally,
Mm-hmm.
physically, spiritually speaking as well. And there's times where you feel like you're not going to be able to make it that next day or,
Mm-hmm.
that next month. And so for me, there were a lot of those times when I started my business where I felt like things were not going to be the way I thought they were going to be. And typically they're not. Everything you think your business is going to do or where
Mm-hmm.
you're going to go is not,
Mm-hmm.
it's complete opposite. So
Mm-hmm.
to answer your second question, that's what's really held me through all those dark times and hard times in my life.
Awesome. Well, let's fast forward a little bit into you started, you talked about this before when we talked before. How has your social media, your YouTube channel and all that propelled your business? How has this helped you? In what ways? Kind of share that info, and also how would you encourage other people to do something similar? What would that do for them? Maybe just share what it did for you. Maybe that's what will be the info for other people. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. So the YouTube channel I started about 8 months after I started my business.
mhm,
And the the reason why I started it was more so because there wasn't a lot of information
mhm,
in regards to this space and not a lot of people sharing their experiences. Again, this is in 2018. So I feel like with other social media platforms that have come out since then, it's kind of helped a lot. But for me at that time, that's what helped inspire the channel.
mhm,
And so I knew in my mind that this was going to be a long-term play. It wasn't like I was creating a channel just to create a channel and have fun. Like most people, I feel like start off something. For me, it was more like, let me just share my journey and let me just share whatever value I can. And if people want to listen, great. If not, I'll continue doing this, right? And it was a very slow and tedious kind of like growth
Mm-hmm.
process in the beginning. Took about 9 months to hit my first like 1,000 subscribers,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't see a cent from AdSense at all. Like there was my intention was like if I provide enough value, people will listen and it will grow organically. That was my thought process.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, I knew that there could become potential opportunities down the road if I just stuck with it and if I stayed consistent with it and used it to help other people. And I truly believe in if you do good by others, good things will come to you. And I was given all this information out for free and still do to this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that opened up a lot of potential opportunities. And I've just always stuck true to like what I truly believe and what I felt like I wish I could see from other content creators. And for me, it was staying true to myself, not allowing, you know, certain people to get in my head about promoting certain things
Mm-hmm.
or things like that. I don't take sponsorships on at all my channel.
Mm-hmm.
I've never done that. I've been offered to promote certain events and things with, through my channel to my audience. And I just haven't done that because at the end of the day, that's just not who I am. And that's just, I personally, if I were to be watching my channel,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be sold anything per
Mm-hmm.
se.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's helped stay true to myself and it's helped grow the channel organically. I believe the channel is the biggest in the space at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's very humbling. And again, like I said before, I'm just a steward of what God's blessed me with, including the channel,
Mm-hmm.
including the platform that He has allowed me to have through that. And I just want to stay true to that and stay true to helping people as much as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And the nice thing is, I don't have a team at all. Every emails that come through, calls that get booked, etc. It's me. I'm the one that's on the other side of it. There's not like VAs or other
Mm-hmm.
employees handling any of that. It takes me a minute to get back sometimes to
Right.
people, but it's definitely helped a lot from a business perspective. Absolutely. It's provided opportunities to network, and I think social media is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Whatever platform somebody wants to build their audience on.
Mm.
I'm not on TikTok. I am, but I only have a few videos. But
Right.
I'm not on TikTok as like my main platform. I feel
Right.
like my main platform is YouTube, and that's where a lot of people go. And then yes, the mentorship and the consulting and all that,
Mm-hmm.
again, that's just built into that because that's what it's grown into.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten to meet so many unique individuals with unique situations and circumstances with all
Mm-hmm.
different types of backgrounds, right? And I think that's what's one of the perks of having something like a social media following in that sense. So
Awesome. Yeah, great share about that. Yeah. Now, likewise, I believe the same thing, sharing free content. I haven't ever concentrated on YouTube. Now with this new podcast series, I've started to concentrate on that. It's more same thing, I believe exactly, Serge, I agree with you, just give the information, talk to people in my case, talk to people like you, share that information, and hopefully people benefit from that. All right, awesome. So we'll get into so yeah, I'll be sharing Serge's obviously YouTube channel and whatever other social media. As he shared, he has a coaching program, and if you're an investor or you want to get into assisted living, he's open to partnerships. All that stuff has to be discussed with him to see a good fit, all that good stuff. So reach out to him and see if there's a potential there. So, either coaching or partnership possibilities. especially if you're in real estate and you're looking into the assisted living as a syndication or the possibilities, he would be a great person to talk to. All right, Serge, last three questions for you. What's the book that influenced you the most that you would like to share with others? Other than the Bible, I know, you might say Bible, but
There's multiple books within the Bible, but I would say a good one that I would say like is probably the most one. I believe it's by Ed Milet, and it's called one. I think it's called One More.
One more, yeah, one more something, yeah, one more.
Yeah, that book is a great one for people, especially in the new year, to read, just because it helps really put in your mind like just do one more email, just do one more rep in the gym, do one more call, do one more networking opportunity, do whatever it is, just do one more because just beyond that breaking point, you could meet the person like how Ed Milet always says, you're only one relationship from changing your life. And or you're one relationship from really, doing something great. So, or just one book, right? Or one sentence, chapter, whatever it is, right? And when you feel like it's just right beyond that. So I think that's a great one for people to read. So
Gotcha.
I'm right now reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko.
Oh, yeah, that's an awesome book.
That's a good one that I think our society just needs in general, to be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. Especially, I guess, not getting into politics. I mean, the current environment where everybody is a victim, right? That's a great book to read when taking ownership of everything you do. All right. So next question is, I think I know the answer based on our previous conversation, but what inspires you to do what you do right now and the future? What's inspiring you to go bigger and bigger to the future?
Yeah, I think it changes, to be honest. Now that I'm a father of two,
That's what I thought.
my family, my sons, my wife, every time I see them, it just makes me want to like work even harder, whether that be in the gym, whether that be at work or whatever. It is, and I'm sure that will always be my biggest inspiration. And I think one last thing is probably my future self. When I look back, I'm good job, buddy.
Good.
Good on you for making those decisions that you should have made. You don't want to look back and say, man, I was such an idiot. What was I thinking? Right. And we have those moments.
Yeah.
But my future self for sure is a big inspiration. I want to look back and not have regrets and not have that's my biggest fear is my future self or the person when I get to heaven, knowing I didn't push myself and take the risks that I should have. So
Awesome. Yeah, no, it reminds me of Matthew McConaughey's speech, Oscar speech. His inspiration is 10-year-old future self. All right, awesome.
Green Lights by him is good too. That's a good book.
Yeah, the green lights are okay, awesome. Yeah. All right, last question. One tip you can share that has helped you that can help others.
One tip. That's a deep one. One tip. Ooh, that can help others. That's a hard one because there's so many different like things. But I would say one tip that I've always said to myself and that I repeat, I would say almost daily is, and again, I'm a man of faith, whatever this could be for you. But for me, I always say, God, you brought me this far. You won't fail me now. And so if you choose to use that as like, you know what, I've gotten this far, I can't allow myself to give up now. If that's how you choose to, but do not stop. Do not stop as much as you really want to. Keep pushing, keep going. And I know it's a lot easier said than done. Trust me, I've been at times where I was, I was ready to just throw in the towel. But if you can just keep going and just build that resilience and build that perseverance, you're going to be so happy that you didn't give up. And that can take a year. That can take 5 years before you can get to that point and you say, man, I'm happy I didn't give up when I wanted to. And yeah, I would say because of everything that I've been through up to this point, I'm very happy I didn't give up when I felt like my business was about to go bankrupt. When COVID hit,
Mm,
you know, I literally I thought I was gonna lose my business. At one point, I was living out of my car. There's just so many crazy
mm,
situations that I'm so happy I didn't give up. And even though I had every excuse and every reason to give up, right?
mm-hmm,
But I didn't. And I'm thankful and I'm grateful. And it's only made me more, you'll realize this after the fact in hindsight. But when you don't give up and you struggle and you push through that struggle and you get on that other side,
mm-hmm,
you're gonna be so much more grateful and appreciative and humbled
mm-hmm,
because of those situations that it's gonna pay off in that regard too.
mm-hmm,
And so that's my one tip. Do not whatever if you got to pivot, pivot,
mm-hmm,
but that doesn't mean give up on yourself. Don't give up on that goal. Don't give up on whatever that dream
mm-hmm.
life that you want for yourself or your family or your loved ones. Do not. Whatever you got to do to keep going, just keep going. That's it. And it will come. It will come. And it's just a matter of pushing yourself and doing what you need to do day in and day out. So
Awesome tip. Yeah, like Tony Robbins said, if you think, or somebody else, maybe there are a couple of people said that if you look at it the way that life happens for you instead of life happening to me, changes just shift. Exactly that. Like you were talking about how those hardships kind of shaped who you are and gives you the confidence. So great tip, Serge. All right, everybody. Like I said, I'll be posting whatever links that Serge will be giving me. So reach out to him and go watch his YouTube channel. A lot of great content, obviously, especially if you're interested in this assisted living space. Obviously, it would be a great content to look at, information to look at. Thanks for taking the time again, Serge, and sharing your, all your experiences and wisdom so far. Even in, such a young life, you're having such great wisdom. Thanks again for taking the time.
of course, my pleasure, guys. And hopefully I hear from some of you all. So make sure you guys mention Raju when you guys come through. So appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Serge.